Little impromptu tune. When you're doing integers, here's something you gotta know. When you're add, subtracting, multiply, dividing, never mix up your rules. All right. That is actually the key to this whole unit, is to keep your rules straight. The rules I taught you for add and subtract. Add and subtract. In the last video, they were quite straightforward. The rules are this. Look at the team that's bigger. Which team is bigger? My positive team or my negative team? The negative team. That team is going to be the winner. We keep that sign and find out how many different they are from each other. So this one would be -1. This team analogy, remember the girls and the boys analogy? That only works for add and subtract. That only works for add and subtract. I'm going to say that again. The teams in the dance only work for add and subtract. The number one mistake that students make is that they mix up add and subtract rules with their multiply and divide rules. And I tell you, it's going to take you a while to get it, but hang in there. I know you can do it. In this video, we're going to learn how to multiply and divide integers. So remember, an integer is just a positive or negative number. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Let me just see if I can get it to adjust there. There we go. So multiply and divide integers. This is a completely different video. So you need to start from scratch. Okay, here we go. What I want you to think about is this. If we have two individuals, we have one individual and another individual. If both of these people are really happy, they're very smiley, they're very bubbly, okay, they've got lots of really good energy, they are probably going to have a very positive relationship. Okay, for example, this would be like, who would it be? Why can't I remember? Anyway, two positive people who like to help others out. They would be positive. If we have, on the other hand, two negative people. These are people who are angry all the time. They like to make fun of people. Maybe they like to vandalize things. But as long as they both like to vandalize things, as long as they both like getting in trouble, maybe they both like horror movies, right? They do something that, I'm not saying horror movies are bad, I just don't prefer them. They're actually probably going to have a pretty good relationship too, because they can go do those things together. Now, where it gets interesting is this. If we have someone who is a really happy-go-lucky individual, everything is like a dream, you know those kind of people. They're very positive, they're joyful. And then we add someone who is kind of really grumpy all the time. Doesn't matter what happens. They could win a 6-foot chocolate Easter bunny, and they would find something to complain about. This relationship is not going to last very well. Now, this is a little contradictory because a lot of people say opposites attract. That may be true when we're looking at magnetism, but when we look at relationships, it doesn't take very long for people to realize that the energy of someone they're with either matches their energy, like in the first two, or is different. So what I want you to take here is that if we have the same kind of energy in people, you're going to have a positive relationship. If we have very different energies, someone who likes Disney and someone who likes Stephen King, they're probably not going to be able to go to very many movies together. So same energy, positive relationship. Different energy, negative relationship. If you can keep that analogy in your head, multiplying and dividing integers is going to be a breeze, because that is literally the rule. If I have a positive and I multiply it by a positive number, I am going to get a bigger positive. Okay? I am going to get a positive answer. If I have a negative and I multiply it by a negative, I am also going to get a positive. Now, I like to look at this visually. So up here, do you see how each one of these plus signs has two lines in it? 1, 2. So in here, how many lines do I actually have? Well, this is 2 little lines. This is 2 more. So that would give me 4 lines. That's an even number. Okay? So if I have an even number of lines in my signs, that is also going to equal a positive. So I could even go positive times a positive times a positive. That all equals an even number. The big thing here is that same sign. Now down here, I've got a negative and a negative. Well, that's 1 plus 1 line. That actually, see how it actually makes a positive if I turn this one? Okay? So these are just little clues to help you. This is same sign. It's going to be positive. Now, let's take a look at the other one. There is only one other. I got a positive times a negative. Well, there visually, you can see it. Do you see how this one doesn't have another line to make a buddy with? It's going to leave itself out as a negative. It's kind of like the loner when you go to the, like Callaway Park, and you go to the roller coaster and you have 3 people. This poor little line has to sit all alone in the back watching his friends have fun. So a positive times a negative, this is 2 plus 1, that's 3. That's an odd number. We've got an odd number of little lines. Positive times a negative is going to equal a negative. So here we have different sign, negative. Or if you like, odd number of negatives. Here I have 1 negative, here I have 2, equals a negative. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite this one more time. The big take home, just like our relationships, same sign, same energy, it's going to be positive. See how they're very different? I'll show you the proof on why if you multiply 2 negatives together, you actually get a positive. So here we go. So to get a positive, there's a couple of ways you can think about it. Number 1, if the 2 numbers have the same sign. Example, positive 3 times positive 6. Are they the same sign? They're both positive. Answer is going to be positive. Now, like we did when we covered up zeros, 6 times 3 is 18. That's all there is to it. So same sign, it's going to be positive. Let's take a look at something a little bit bigger. Positive 2 times positive 3 times positive 4. Now this is just order of operations. Left to right, right to left to right. Positive times a positive is going to be positive 6. Now I have to multiply that by positive 4. What is a positive times a positive? It's going to be a positive. 6 times 4 is 24. That's my answer. But if you'll notice, every one of these positives has a little buddy. It's always got a buddy. There's no negatives in that whole thing. Same sign. Let's look at this as negatives. So if I have negative 2 times negative 4, let's take a look. What are my teams? They're both negative. Oh, I said teams. That's add and subtract. Don't let me do that. Same sign. Answer is going to be positive. You put it down. 4 times 2 is going to be 8. 1, 2 negatives. I got 2 negatives. Now, same scenario. Positive or negative 2 times negative 1 times negative 3. Now just look at this before we even attempt to solve it. I have 1, 2, 3 negatives. How many does it take to make a positive sign? It takes 2, baby. Me and You. It's a good song, by the way. But here I have a third negative. So I want you to think about that while we're getting to the answer. So 2 numbers at a time, always. Negative 2 times negative 1. Same sign means positive. So this is going to be positive 3. See how those 2? Now look what sets up. Negative 3. Now I have a positive times a negative. I've got Disney lover and I've got horror film lover. Is that going to be positive or negative? Different sign, negative 9. This is kind of the advanced order of op stuff that will be optional for you to do this week. So if I have the same sign, or I have an even number of negatives, that will also be positive. Because every time I have an even number, those two come together and make a little plus. Right? Now, that's not something you're going to find in textbooks. Okay? That's just the visual, accelerated way to kind of remember this. And pick one that works for you. Okay? The other thing we need to do is how to get a negative. Now, this one's straightforward. All we need is different signs. Different. Nice spelling, Mr. Paul. We need different signs. So what does that mean? That means the sign, which is the positive or the negative, times -4. We got one positive, one negative. Are they the same? No, they are not. Positive times a negative. I got different signs. You see him? He's so lonely. He's sitting all alone in the back, watching his friends put their hands in the air and scream. He's all alone, doesn't have a little buddy to make a positive. Different sign, negative. Now what is 3 times 4? It's 12. So there's 2 steps. All you're doing is looking. We'll do one more. Let's do -4 times +10. 2 steps. Number 1, look at the signs. Okay, integer laws come first. We always solve the hardest things to remember first. This is going to be different sign, negative. Now we do the multiplication. 4 times 10 is 40. -40. Now, if we have an odd number of negatives, -4 times +6 times -3, it should be negative. Odd, whoa, my camera, there we go. Woo, good save, Mr. Paul. If I have an odd number, it should be negative. But what is this answer going to be, do you think? Let's count them up. We've got 1, 2. Is 2 an odd or an even number? Genius. It is even. Oh, and I'm at 12 minutes. We got to finish this video up. So I get -4 times +6, different signs, -24. Now I'm going to take -24 and times that by -3. Now what do I have? Negative, negative. They are the same. Same sign means it's going to be a positive number at the end. 24 times 3, oh geez. 24 times 3, that's 12, that's 6, 72. Positive 72. I hope that's right, or someone's going to get some homework for free. So the 2 ways to remember how to make it was cool that we could actually find that was a positive number even before doing it. That's what I like. So to get a different sign or an odd number of negatives, the key is odd. So you may want to take some notes on this. If not, I'll give you the notes next week and we'll play around with it. Try the adding, the multiplying and dividing of integers because those are the big skills. All right. Awesome, guys. Let me know if you need any help and be brave. Try it out. Cheers.